Brooke, and I'm your host for tonight's training topic on the subject of urgent or important. Every week I try to go live with a training topic of around 15 minutes to help garage owners become more successful in business. Based on the 5 pillars of success as I see them, this is one of my favorite topics, but it's an area that I don't revisit myself enough. And there are significant weaknesses in my business and personal life dealing with urgent and important tasks and differentiating between them, because it's a real skill. When it comes to garage businesses, understanding the differences between what is urgent and what is important is crucial for effective decision making and prioritization. Here are the 3 key differences between urgent and important tasks around small garage businesses. The key difference, I think, is along these 3 lines. And once we start to examine and unpack these 3 areas, we start to get an idea of what is important and what is urgent. It doesn't make it any easier at that point, and we need to look at some tools that I've discovered to improve how we go about it. The first thing is the time sensitivity of the task. The second thing is the impact on your long-term success. The third area is whether you are being proactive or reactive in your approach. So they're the 3 key areas that are the easiest ways of explaining the differences between urgent and important tasks. Go back to the first one, time sensitivity. Urgent tasks are those that require immediate attention or have a short time frame for completion. They often have impending deadlines or time-sensitive consequences if you don't address them promptly. An example of urgent tasks for garage businesses might be resolving a customer complaint or responding to an urgent client request or critical technical issue, are all urgent. Important tasks may not have the same level of time sensitivity and can be addressed over a longer period. These tasks tend to contribute to the long-term goals and the overall success of the business, and they usually don't require immediate attention. At the moment, we're classifying between urgent and important. There are 2 very easy ways to identify urgent and important, because unless they stop and think about it, urgent and important sound similar, but there is one key difference when it comes to time sensitivity. Urgent kind tasks need immediate attention, and important tasks tend not to be as time sensitive. So the impact on long-term success. So important tasks have a significant impact on the long-term success of your garage business. They align with the business's strategic objectives, vision, goals, your plan, and values. Examples of important tasks are creating business plans, developing your marketing brief, building strong customer relationships, investing in employee training, or researching market opportunities. These tasks don't have immediate consequences, but they do contribute to the sustainable growth and profitability of the business over time. Urgent tasks, although they seem pressing, often have a shorter-term impact and are more focused on problem-solving, crisis management, or what I call firefighting. It's more about the impact on long-term success rather than the time frame. That's the second way of categorizing whether something's urgent or important. The third area, whether or not it's proactive or reactive, especially in your approach to the task, is a little bit different from the previous 2, but it's linked. Addressing important tasks requires a proactive approach, focusing on planning, goal setting, and taking proactive measures to achieve desired outcomes. You can prioritize important tasks in a garage business to set yourself a solid foundation for success. On the other hand, if you prioritize urgent tasks and take a reactive approach because things arise unexpectedly and demand immediate attention, you can often jeopardize your success by taking short-term actions hinder your long-term success. So it's that proactive versus reactive approach. If we get time, we'll do an exercise towards the end where we look at whether things are urgent or important and then further categorize them from there, because that's the next thing that we need to do. We need to think about strategies for changing how we look at what we do in the business. So how can we become better at it? The first thing we need to do is to become proactive, to focus more on long-term visions, goal setting and planning. The first thing we need to do is have a plan. That's the key area to flipping your perception about what is important and what is urgent. If you don't have a long-term plan and you don't have a vision, you don't know what your values are, whether they be your personal values or your business values, if you want to separate the two. I always say, if you listen to the training before, set your personal vision first and then set your goals, your plan and your objectives, and then build a business that allows you to do that. By having a vision, setting your goals, writing out your plan and having objectives, it reinforces that vision. We start there in your mind, just writing it down. If you want to really flip your perception about what is important and what is urgent, then write down what you're working towards that day, that week, that month, that year, and have it on your desk. A top tip I once got by a guy called Jim Dorr in his book, Objectives and Key Results. He said that in the organizations that took on this management strategy, like Amazon, Google, Intel, the bosses would have a whiteboard on the edge of their desk. You can imagine the scene, can't you? These Californian companies with open plan offices where everyone's walking by and it's a big social group with everyone typing away at some sort of workstation. On the edge of their desk, they had their objective and their key results for that day, that week, or that month. It basically said, if you haven't come to help me with this, then please wait. It stopped people from interrupting them. If you have your objective, I like to think about 90-day objectives, written down on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper, stapled to the front of your desk. When whatever happens next happens, you can ask yourself, does this task take me closer to my objective, to my plan, to my goals, or to my vision? If it doesn't, then it's probably not important. It could be urgent, but it's probably not important. And then you have to classify what to do with that, and then decide whether to defer that task, to delegate that task, or to do that task. And you see what we're saying there, we're not saying ignore it. What we're saying is make a decision, what I call the 3 Ds of decision making in business, which is defer, delegate, or do it. And you'll often find that with a bit of practice, you start to delegate a lot of the urgent stuff in your business and you get on with the important stuff. So that's the best way for flipping the perception of what is important and what is urgent, because not everything that's urgent is important. The next bit of advice is linked to the image I put up for this training topic. It was made famous by the 7 Habits of Successful People. It's called the Eisenhower Matrix, and it's all about the urgent, important matrix. It's a productivity and time management tool to help people prioritize tasks based on their urgency and importance. It was made popular by the US President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was known for his exceptional time management skills. You can't manage time, but you can manage yourself. And that's what time management really is. It's about organization, prioritization, and doing the right things. What does the matrix do? It splits all tasks into 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, called Quad 1 in the diagram, is urgent and important tasks. The firefighting zone, where you are truly reactive. A worrying statistic in and around small businesses is business owners can find themselves spending more time in Quad 1 than anywhere else. The firefighting zone, being truly reactive. Quad 2, which is the target in the diagram, is the important but not urgent zone. This is where you do your planning and set your objectives. This is your proactive zone. If you want to be truly successful in business, and all the people I see doing really well in their garage businesses spend more time in their proactive zone than anywhere else. This is where you're truly working on your business and not in your business. Everyone in the proactive zone, by its very nature, must have a plan and be working towards an outcome or objective. This is important. This is why I spend so long talking about plans, because you become very proactive if you spend time in Quad 2, which is important but not urgent tasks. Quad 3 is the urgent but not important zone. or what I call the unproductive zone, where you're a busy fool. You feel like you're doing great work because it's urgent or it feels urgent, but it's not important. If you're one of those people who can't ignore a ringing phone, this is that zone more often than not. Because unless you know who's on the other end of that call, it could be urgent. That's what phone ringing feels like. But you don't know if it's important. So that's a good example of being a busy fool. Answering that phone call instead of getting on with what you should have been getting on with. A trap. Because you recognize that it's urgent, but you don't know, or you haven't been able to, or you don't have the time management or personal management skills to categorize it whether or not it's important. And that's really important. This is, if you like, when I say a busy fool, this is a trap, quadrant 3. Quad 4, where it's not urgent and not important, is the procrastination zone. But it's also where perfectionists like to hang out. I can't launch this, or I can't do this yet because it's not quite right and all the rest of it. I have a saying for that, and it's just fucking do it. The average plan carried out violently today is better than the perfect plan carried out tomorrow or never, as it often is with procrastinating. So the Eisenhower Matrix, what's really good about it is it allows you to classify things as urgent or important, or urgent and not important, or important and not urgent, or not urgent and not important, which is the worst zone to be in. So I would guess the majority of business owners can crack the code of whether something is important or not important and work on spending more and more time in quad 2. If you picture yourself in a typical day, are most of the tasks you carried out in quads 1, 2, or 3? I'm not even going to go to quad 4, because if we're doing that during the day, we're going to go bust really quickly. So if you are in quad 4, get out and do something urgent and important, or important and not urgent. Customer has just sent a complaint about a product they purchased from you. Is it urgent or important? Is it urgent and important? Urgent and not important? Or is it not urgent and not important? So where does that go? So what about conducting market research into identifying new target demographics for your business's marketing plan set? Is that urgent? Is it important and not urgent? Or is it important and urgent? Which zone does that sit in? What about a server crash that has caused your website to go offline, impacting your online sales and the ability for customers to get in touch with you? Is that urgent or important? And which of the zones does it sit in? So have a think about those and see how you would react to each one of those in turn. So in truly cracking the code, what you want to do is spend a day where you write down every task that you carry out and find out where it sits in the quads. Are you in quad 1, 2, God forbid, quad 4, or quad 3? Quads 1 or 2 is where most of us will be spending our time, and a little bit probably in quad 3 when we don't realize the tasks we're doing aren't important. Think about that and ask yourself before you do anything, which quad is this in? Then make a decision and practice the 3 Ds of decision making. Either defer it, delegate it, or do it. Make sure if you're going to do it that it's in the right quad and it's going to have the right outcome. Your to-do list. What are the important things you need to do today? What are the urgent things you need to do today? What are the urgent and important things you need to do today? And what are the important but not urgent things you need to do today? Classify them and get them done. If you're delegating some of those tasks, you must have meetings with your staff to find out how they're getting on with them, to make sure everything isn't being deferred or procrastinated about. Understanding the key differences between urgent and important tasks allows small garage businesses to allocate their time and scarce resources more effectively. Remember, while urgent tasks need immediate attention to prevent immediate negative consequences, important tasks drive long-term success. You need a balance of both types of tasks for your business to succeed, but for long-term stability and success, it's the important tasks that matter most. Hopefully that's made you think about how you operate within your business. If you take nothing away from today's training, defer, delegate, or do, decide whether the task is urgent or important. Once you've mastered that, if you can work out if it's urgent and important, urgent and not important and not urgent, or important and urgent. Those things. Basically make up the Eisenhower Matrix. Work out where your tasks sit in that matrix, then decide whether you're going to defer, delegate, or do. You will be better at running your business if that's all you take away. Thanks for listening. I've been Andy Crook. Hopefully you've been informed.